My mission is to find a cure for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, no matter what it takes.
This is The Hope Show, powered by All American Ford, Alfano Renovations, and Adapting Social. Now let's dive in. Jar of Hope and Team Jamesy, good afternoon and welcome to The Hope Show, where we help other people excel. Brought to you by All American Ford, who help keep us moving forward. Alfano Home Renovations, who help us build this show one brick at a time. And of course, we are powered by yours truly, Adapting Social. Thank you for making this show possible, to our sponsors. And today we have a special guest, Miss Kristine Gurski, and she's going to correct me on how to say her name properly. I'll give you that opportunity. Miss Kristine, go ahead.
You got the Gurski right. But it's
I
actually,
did.
Yes, you did. Okay, so it's Kristine Carranceja-Gurski. You have to do it officially. But sorry, Dad, I had to drop the Carranceja once in a while, especially when I just introduce myself, because nobody catches that one. Right. But anyhow, it's Kristine Carranceja-Gurski.
So, Kristine, thank you very much for being here today on The Hope Show. And why is today an important show? Well, we're going to talk about wills, trusts, special needs planning. Do you need them and why? Right? I'm in the community and I can tell you I have 1,000 questions, misconceptions, I'm sure as well. And let's first start off with Chris, introduce yourself to the world, to the Jar of Hope fans, and talk about who you are, what you do, and why.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot.
Right? You got this.
So, as you know, I'm an attorney, and I work at the Matus Law Group. We have offices in Toms River and in Red Bank and in Manhattan, and our focus is trusts and estates. So that means, estate planning. When you talk about estate planning, you're talking about somebody who needs a will, who needs a power of attorney, who needs, maybe a trust, depending on the circumstances. And why are these important things, right? We always have to think about what would happen to us if we're no longer able to make our own financial decisions, our own medical decisions, or if we pass away. What happens to our assets? Does it go to our loved ones in the way that we want it to go to them, in the right manner, in the right form of trust? There are so many different ways that we can address depending on each circumstance. And it's important to talk to an attorney, we always feel, to address it correctly. Because one of the things that we don't realize is if we don't actually plan it, the plan really relies on what the state wants to do. There are laws in place that say who gets what. And if you don't have it written down, you have to follow whatever the state says in terms of who receives, who's in charge. So why I do what I do, Jim, I just want to make sure people have peace of mind. They know that whatever assets they accumulated or whatever their plans are in their life, the right people are there to help them. The right people have the opportunity to receive their assets in the way that they want, in a way that best suits the family. That's why I do it, what I do.
God bless you. So, for Jar of Hope, it's all about the why, and that's a great why. You're very selfless in the job that you have to help and support other people. Be the first person to raise your hand. Do you have a will or trust? I don't. As you're sitting here talking, it's making me a little bit emotional because, first thing I think of is my son and then my own mortality, because when you're younger, right, you never think you're going to get to this age, right, because it's just so far in the future, and I'm only 55. But when you're 15 to 20, you never think you're really going to get that old and then have the assets that you do acquire over the years and then having a family. And what are you going to do with them when that day comes, right? So this is a great conversation to have for our community and for me personally, right? So let's start with, what is the difference between a will and a trust?
Ultimately, there's a very big difference in terms of how assets get handled. But ultimately, they're the same thing. It's a way of transferring assets to the people that you love. Everybody needs a will, Jim. Everybody needs a document that says, upon my passing, whatever assets there are in my lifetime, this is who's in charge. This is who I choose to be in charge of handling that. And here are the people who I want to receive those assets. And the good thing about a will is, like I said, there's a backup. You don't do anything, the state has a plan for you. But you don't want that.
So when you said that twice already, which makes me really think, right? If something happens to me, it automatically doesn't go to my wife?
Not always.
Not always.
Depends on how things are titled. So you have a joint account with your wife?
Bank account.
Bank account.
Yes.
Yeah, that goes to her, right? Do you have the house, is it jointly owned with your wife?
No.
No. Okay, then it doesn't go to your wife automatically if it's in your name only.
Right.
Not necessarily. And there is a process through the courts to make sure that the right people receive those assets, and that's called the probate process. So when you talk about who gets what, you really have to look at, hey, what do I have? And do I have a designated beneficiary for these assets? Mm-hmm. If there isn't one, that's not who it goes to, right?
So the will identifies the beneficiaries.
Yes.
And then the trust is how you protect that asset?
Absolutely. So there are two ways you can think about a trust. A trust is like an extension of a will, because typically what a will says, this is who receives everything. But a trust does an extra thing that the will doesn't do. It keeps all the distributions private. So when you have a will, that has to go to the court, and that becomes public record. A trust doesn't have to go to the court unless somebody contests it. And that means the beneficiaries of the trust, it doesn't become public record. Also, the trust gives you some opportunities, such as when you have a loved one with special needs, right? You can't just leave the money to them outright. Because what if they are entitled to SSI? What if they're entitled to Medicaid by the time they turn 18? Could you possibly leave assets outright to a child who has Medicaid or SSI benefits? No, because if they have more than $2,000, they lose their SSI and Medicaid. So how do we still provide for that child? Well, we create a trust for their benefit. We create a trust that says, Jamesy gets a third of all my assets, but it's in a special needs trust. So it's earmarked for him, but it's not technically his money. There will be somebody in charge of the money to utilize it for whatever Jamesy needs, but it's not his money, so that he can still get SSI and Medicaid. That's what a special needs trust ultimately does. But there are different kinds of trusts, Jim. So,
Dear Lord. All right, so I'm thinking to myself, I got to go home right now. I got to bring you home with me.
exactly. Put your knee in their pocket, right? And talk to your wife.
Right, yeah.
And say, hey.
She'll be very happy I bring home a woman like you that can help us secure our assets, because I'm just sitting here thinking, it's really putting a little bit of fear into me into what happens if, God forbid, something happens to me, right? And we need to have these conversations, and I'm sure there's others out there like that. Again, how can they reach you to have this conversation with you in their home?
Well, listen, I'm at the office all the time. I'm at the Matus Law Group. So we have an office in Toms River, right at, I like to say, at the bottom of Hooper on Water Street, big brick building. So it's 81 East Water Street, Toms River, New Jersey. Phone number 732-281-0060. Oh dear. Hopefully we can change that one. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's okay.
And you can also check us out on our website. We have a lot of good information on our website just about the types of trusts. We also do a little real estate, talks about wills, talks about the different types of trusts that are available. Just some good information that you can just glean from before you come and see us and talk about what your plans are. Because we always say it's all about you when you come to my office. What do you want to do? What brought you here? That's so important to us because, we're one of many lawyers, I like to say,
Right.
but we like to focus on what our clients want to do. And we guide, we provide advice as we need, and sometimes we say, no, you have to do it this way, but rarely. It's mostly, here are your choices? And my biggest part is I want to educate. I want you to know what these options are so that you can make a decision based on your family. What is the best course of action for you.
Yeah, it's given me a lot to think about during our conversation. So we really do have to have you over to my house to get this ironed out because,
Yes.
God forbid, the kids kids in Karen have got to be taken care of. I don't need the state coming in and trying to identify who gets what, if anything at all, right? So that's wonderful. And how many years have you been doing this? Because you seem to know this off the top of your head.
So I've been in practice since 2007. Now, I've been doing wills all that time, but I really specialized in this area in the last 6 years. I came to this firm, with Kristine Matus, and I've known her for some time before that, and it just became my passion now. Yeah, I mean, she takes such a great approach to this area of law because she herself is the mother of a child with special needs. Her adorable daughter, Juliana, was born with Downs. And Juliana is she is just loving and so caring. And, you realize that you're doing this for a purpose. And when you actually have a purpose, when you have a passion, it makes the job not really a job. It just makes it your lifelong purpose, your goal.
That's even more meaningful to have you over the house and give you guys the business because, one, your experience speaks volumes as to why I should use you, right? And two, to know pretty much the same reason I started Jar of Hope. I was inspired by the love of my child. So is Miss Mathis, and that's beautiful. And God has a reason for everybody. And her little angel has brought two incredible people to a field that really a great deal of people in New Jersey could really use your help. Are you guys only to New Jersey, or because we have people who watch this all over to Texas and San Antonio and Nebraska, can they reach out to you as well, or it's just specific to New Jersey law?
New Jersey and New York. So usually law firms have to stick with where you're licensed. And I happen to be licensed in New York as well. So New Jersey and New York. But if anybody needs help with an attorney who is just as caring in another state, we already have a nice community of attorneys that we work with. So that we can always refer in other states as well.
So you have a network of attorneys across the country?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Wow. That's fantastic. Great person to know, besides all this business talk. But tell us, what is the biggest misconception people have when they come and sit before you?
I can't even say there's one. There's quite a bit, right? So especially when it comes to special needs planning, the first assumption is, or at least their plan is, disinherit the child, right?
Disinherit the child?
Disinherit the child with special needs. Don't put anything in their name because they're going to lose their benefits. But what happens in that case? Who is now in charge of any kind of money? Now, I've had this happen. You leave it to the other children. Perfectly fine, with the hopes that it's earmarked for that child. But those other children might get married, have their own, financial issues. And because it's their money, it's never really earmarked for your child with special needs. So it has to be.
The beneficiary may never see those funds appropriately.
Absolutely. So that is always one of the biggest misconceptions, or at least those are the things that I've seen happen. The assumption too that, many people assume that it has to be the family who's managing the funds. And sometimes they're afraid to come to us because I don't know who I can trust. I really don't have anybody in the family who will do this for me. Well, there are corporate fiduciaries, because if you think about it, right, if you're handling somebody else's money, there has to be some type of trust there. It's not just a trust in in the sense of the actual trust document, but you have to trust somebody to manage that money properly. When you don't have that, and very often I do have people come to me say, I don't even know who's going to manage this. I don't have any other children. I don't have any family members. Well, there are corporate fiduciaries that will manage the money who actually do this for a living, and they know what they need to do for individuals who have these types of benefits. And that's why the assets are there to protect them. But the corporate fiduciaries are something that many people don't hear about. So at least there's always an option. But it's better to talk to an attorney and find out what those options are rather than not coming to anybody and just letting things happen.
Have you
does
heard
happen.
of those stories? Because now, as you're saying this, I'm thinking people might go to the computer and just create a legal will document themselves. Have you heard of how families set those up incorrectly and then they come to you for advice to fix it?
Yes, all the time.
Oh, jeez.
And fortunately, we very often will get them ahead of time. So instead of just, many people will just download a will from the internet or even just type up something that they think is enough, or they copy somebody else's will, like their father passed away, they do a will. Oh, let me just retype the whole thing. Many times it's easy to create, knowing enough about the law, I could say that you can very easily create a will. But if you don't know the outcome of what you're creating, you shouldn't prepare one. Because sometimes unintended consequences happen. Without having certain language in the will, without setting it up, using the right words, it doesn't exactly come out the way you want. And very often I find that, hopefully, not often enough, thank God, but many people do come to me and say, well, I have this will, and I'll tell you what's wrong with it. Especially when it's prepared by you. And I'll say, is this what you want? And when they tell me, no, that's not what I wanted, well, if I had to administer this will, because I do that part of the practice as well. When somebody passes away, one of the things I do is I send the will to the court. We administer the estate based on what that will says. So when that will is nice and clear, okay, it is what it is. And if it's simple and we don't have any trust issues, like for example, an individual with special needs was a beneficiary, we don't have to worry about it. Sometimes it's okay, but very often the reason it comes to my office is because there's a problem. Because somebody received the estate and they do have SSI, they have Medicaid. And how do they protect it now? So now we're trying to scramble and trying to find solutions.
So once the cat's out of the bag, there's no way to put it back in and get that child those benefits back?
There is sometimes, depending on their age, depending on the circumstances. But what does it mean? A lot of legal fees to fix it.
Yeah.
It's more money to fix it than to do it correctly from the outset.
Right. The risk is not always the reward.
Exactly.
That's why
Exactly.
you call my friend, Kristine Gurski, right here. Please reach out to her, anybody. And if you can't, for some reason, get through, please email jim@charofhope.org, and we'll get all the messages over to Miss Kristine to help you guys out, because that's why she's here, to help the special needs community. And it's not a particular disease that you would support. It's anybody across the board. So anybody with Duchenne, with autism, CP perhaps, right? You'll help any family in
Absolutely.
any situation.
Oh, I help all families, whether or not they have any type of needs or special needs. I help, seniors try to protect inheritances to pass on to their children. I help young families, making sure that the right documents are in place in case both parents are gone. It's all, a whole breadth of people we
Right.
help at our firm. But we do have a love for the special needs community.
What happens, talking about seniors, when you have perhaps a parent who's borderline has dementia or early onset dementia, and now there's introduction of a will and trust when that person's going through that, because it's all about memory or competency
Yeah.
to putting that together. Have you ever seen something like that?
I
Be a large or a big issue?
Well, depending if they have these things already in place before, then it's a matter of making sure that, they are taken care of. See, when somebody has dementia or Alzheimer's, right, ideally they have a power of attorney in place so that even if they lose their capacity to make those decisions, they already appointed somebody in a power of attorney, one of their children ideally, to manage their bank accounts, to make sure they pay the facility, to keep the house running, to sell the house if needed. So that's why it's important to have those specific documents, because if we don't have those in place, that person that's going into the facility will not have anybody to pay the facility. Who's going to go to the bank to pay the facility? Who's going to go to a realtor to sell the house so there's money to pay the facility? There are a lot of things in play when you don't have the right documents. So what happens in that case, Jim? We have to go through the courts to obtain guardianship.
And that sounds more costly.
Uh-huh. I mean, the power of attorney is, a few $100s usually, if at all. But a guardianship, we're talking about like 3-4 months minimum. Getting certifications from doctors, having an attorney appointed to the parent to make sure they really do have, they really do lack the capacity. So it's a process. And that's what's happening in that time.
Right.
So, as we get older, it's important to think about these things. I mean, not just older. I think that 18-year-olds need power of attorney because things could happen while the kids are in college or even when, they're going off on their own. Parents, should also think about at least having a power of attorney for their child should something happen to them.
Everything you're touching on is on point because one of my daughter's friends, she lost her mother and father while she was going through college.
Oh.
Luckily, not luckily, but she was an only child. But, I can only imagine if there was nothing in place for these kids, if she had siblings, what would be going on?
Exactly. That's the hard part. I mean, we don't even plan that. We never think that that's going to happen.
Never. I never thought when I was 17, 18, when I started thinking about having a family, that I'd wake up one day and have a terminally ill child, right? Everybody thinks, you're going to have a baby, it's going to be happy, healthy, and we all move on. But, that's not the case. Even in the state of New Jersey, there's 1,000 children living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And a few of those diagnoses have a secondary diagnosis of autism. And that's how Jar of Hope got into the autism space, is to help those families as well. Because we see it firsthand, how trying it is on the family. And a lot of that fight, that daily fight, is why we neglect your skills and why I fall circumstance to that, right? We need to have it done, and I'm sure and I hope that if there's families out there, please reach out, because that's why we started the Jar of Hope. That's why my friend Kristine is in the business she's in, is to help you, right? Having a conversation doesn't cost anything, so please reach out to Kristine, and you'll probably find out that you need her more than ever. Yeah.
Thank you.
And as you can see, she's sweet as pie. It's just great. This is her on-screen and off-screen, right? So I highly recommend speaking with Kristine, because my family and I are going to be doing the same. So one more time, please tell everybody how they can reach you.
So Kristine Carranceja-Gurski, I'm with the Matus Law Group. We have offices in Toms River, in Red Bank, and in Manhattan. The number is 732-281-0060.
Wonderful. And as always, Jar of Hope and Team Jamesy, thank you for watching us this afternoon. And thanks again to my sponsors, All American Auto Group, keeping us moving forward. The Alfano Home Renovations, who are helping us build one brick at a time. And of course, we are powered by Adapting Social. Thank you very much. I appreciate your sponsorship. If you too would like to sponsor the Jar of Hope show, please reach out to James at jarofhope.org. Thank you.
My mission is to find a cure for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, no matter what it takes.
This is The Hope Show, powered by All American Ford, Alfano Renovations, and Adapting Social. Now let's dive in.